Tae Takemi is the first non-Phantom Thief confidant we have the pleasure of experiencing, apart from Sojiro. She's an enigma among other characters within Persona 5, both in her general design and the structure of her story arc. So throughout Persona 5, you get to experience quite a few characters and the stories that go along with them. And, in my humble nerd on the internet opinion, Takemi stands out as one of the more compelling characters of the bunch, even among some of the actual Phantom Thieves. What exactly makes her one of the better confidants, you may be asking? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you why. But first, here's a gift. A picture of an angry grandma I drew in Microsoft Paint. If you hated this picture as much as I hated drawing it, be sure to hit that down like. Because you're hilarious, and I'm a cheeky twat, be sure to show the YouTube algorithm that you care enough about this video to hit a dinky button. Right, let's continue on. Starting off, Takemi's stage presence is incredible. She's this punk rock goth girl who wears a lab coat. Just being on screen has a lot more impact than, say, Oya, Mishima, or Yoshida. At first, Takemi seems like she's this moody girl who might feel misunderstood. And it's tropey as hell. Between the strange concoctions of chemicals she makes Joker drink and the detached way she seems to enjoy that, she pretty quickly becomes something of a BDSM mommy figure. But for science and entrance exams? After a few tasty drinks, we eventually learn that Takemi made some ominous medical error in her previous role at a university hospital. This is where her story really starts to take off. The moment I really started to appreciate Takemi is when a pink-shirted sick girl comes into her office. Pink Girl has bronchitis that Takemi briefly claims she can't cure. After learning that Pink Girl was getting treated at a university hospital in East Shinjuku, Takemi decides to treat her and succeeds, because she's a badass. She doesn't care about the shallow expectations that being a physician entails. She treats patients with a kind of fervent honesty that shows she really cares. Ironically, beautifully, for the person with the death confidant, she might be the one that values life the most. And we're just going to completely disregard the questionable, totally realistic way that Takemi treated Pink Shirt Girl. Honestly, I've spent years in research and clinical labs, and the way this is shown isn't the way it works at all. It literally just can't work this way. But we are going to ignore that because it's not relevant. Right after curing Pink Shirt, Takemi reveals she led development on a drug that would cure a disease called Crawfordins. She was almost finished with development when Oyamada, her previous boss, abruptly removed her from her position. He made some careless mistakes regarding Miwa-chan and placed the blame on Takemi. Miwa-chan's family ends up hating her. The medical community rejects her. She is forced to live a life as a general practitioner, and I quote, in the sticks, where she totally has the resources to do experimental drug research. What's the most heartbreaking about all of this is that Takemi internalizes all of this rejection and just kind of accepts her fate as a has-been. This is a thing that I was skeptical of the first time that I played through Persona 5. Like, Tae Takemi, this asshole screwed over your life and you just kind of sit back and accept it and become a has-been doctor. You just kind of act like everything is your fault. Ultimately, I think it's fair to say that Takemi was kind of gaslighted by the medical community, Oyamada, and Miwa-chan's family. That constant rejection and loathing she experienced broke her, in a sense. Something that's even more cool is that she didn't necessarily give up. It's cliche, but what really makes a character compelling to me is how hard they try to succeed in what's important to them. She's continuing to develop this medicine for Miwa-chan through her clinical trials on Joker, despite the fact that she's already been essentially exiled. And I have a great deal of sympathy towards her for that. This brings us to the inevitable conflict with Oyamada. He learned that Takemi continued practicing medicine and was succeeding at it, so he did the thing that would break her. He told her that Miwa-chan died, which we find out is a lie after we defeat him in Mementos, and this completely breaks her. Everything Takemi had been working for and the effort that she'd gone to, it was all so Miwa-chan could be happy and healthy. Oyamada's asshattery here has made me feel so incredibly mad every time I've played through Persona 5. Like, this despicable excuse of a human being did so many things that compromise this kid's health, and he sabotages the one thing that could save her. It's just stupidly vile, and his reason for this is just because he's a jealous twat. He's jealous of Takemi's capacity to succeed as a physician, and he will do anything to drive her into the ground, even sacrifice a sick kid's livelihood and potential at life. So we take down Oyamada in Mementos, and rather appropriately, he's a baboon holding a book. I can't help but feel this was intentional on the part of the writers. Now, Takemi finds out Miwa-chan is still alive, and that Oyamata came clean about his unethical healthcare practices. She gets to work and saves Miwa-chan's life. She gets the one thing she wanted, which was to see Miwa-chan smile. Takemi correctly guesses that Joker is a phantom thief because, duh. And that brings our story with Tae Takemi to a close. Takemi's confidant arc is so interesting to me for a few reasons. Using Joker as a guinea pig for her medical testing, disregarding the fact that you could never really legally administer a drug to a person anywhere with the way that Takemi is doing her clinical trials. The way this medicine testing is being done is a pretty substantial ethical question, one that I don't have the answer to. Here's the question. A drug, once it's perfected, will save somebody's life. Someone who is going to die soon. But to complete the drug, you have to test it on a person several times. You think that it's going to be safe, but there's no actual guarantee. Is it right to potentially harm someone to only maybe save somebody else's life? Like, you can say Joker agreed to it, which made it consensual, though it's not really appropriate to say you can consent to something you don't understand. And Joker honestly just didn't even understand what he was doing when he accepted to take the medicine in the first place. He's a kid in high school with no medical background. The second reason Takemi's story is so interesting to me is because the progression of discovering who Takemi really is incredibly satisfying. Her general vibe starts off with this misunderstood goth punk, which transitions to sadistic doctor mommy to badass physician, living the best life she knows how and saving as many people as she can. And if that isn't satisfying to you, well, we clearly have different tastes. The last reason I find Takemi to be so interesting, and in my humble nerd with a camera on the internet keyboard warrior opinion, Takemi's confidant arc is one of the best in Persona 5. I think Akechi's confidant story is better, at least in Royal, and I'm on the fence about where I would rate Futaba's compared to Takemi's. For myself, I think I rate Takemi's confidant to be either number 2 or number 3 in the entirety of the game. Her story had a lot of love put into it, and she wasn't even a member of the Thieves. This is entirely subjective, but I can't bring myself to care about most of the plots surrounding the confidants. Takemi is one of the few exceptions for me. I think a big part of the reason I love her so much is because the relationship between Joker and Takemi seems to have a mutual trust between the two.
For your escapades with the Phantom Thieves, I mean.
It's a reciprocal relationship, while the relationship with Oya seems to be a bit unbelievable. And the one with Kawakami is born out of somewhat of a tasteless power dynamic. That brings us to the end of it. Thank you for watching this video. Hit that dinky down like button, and we will see you next time.